Hello and welcome to the Freedom Network podcast. My name's Troy Colmer. We are building the most powerful community on the planet of manifestors and life builders. I believe we don't have long. We've only probably got another year to go, maybe, depending on what happens. But we're going to be talking about all of that and a whole lot more. But our main thing is to be talking about the how good life can be. We've got this special gift called life, and we've just forgotten it. With all the hustle and the bustle and the last 3 years of, carnage, and now we've got this big division about who got vaccinated and who didn't, and it's just carried on and carried on. So we're about stopping all that. We're about creating a powerful community of people that want to learn this art of manifesting and how to become the best version of yourself. So other than that, I've got my great mate here, Craig Harris. We've been friends for forever, and he's a personal trainer, and I've been in the fitness industry forever. So he's the perfect guy to have on as the co-host of this podcast, and he's been on this journey of mine, teaching people how to live this special life, special existence. And, why wouldn't you want to live like this great life, Craig?
Oh, for sure. After what we've experienced together in a fairly short amount of time, we've gone from tradies...
Short for you, 8 years.
Well, there you go. How did we turn my life around?
Yeah.
Being buried in debt and working as a tradie, trying to make ends meet, and I was happy in life, but like now it's just next level, We're just conquering whatever we set our mind to.
But do you remember when I first discovered all this stuff? Because what happened is 2014, around 2014, the end of 2014, I had my third brush with death, and I'm an electrician as well, and I was working up this power pole because my other business, the electrical business, we connect the houses to the street poles. Anyway, this day it was a comedy of errors. My apprentice, he was only brand new, he rings me up in the morning and says, Troy, I'm not coming in today. And we had a big day. He goes, Troy, I'm not coming in today. I said, right, whatever, mate. And this was about his fifth time that he'd rung me up. And so I go to the job. I always had the shits, really. I wasn't happy about it. And so anyways, where this pole was, there was a tree right in front of where the house had to go, and where the line went across to the house, there was a tree right in the front. And so normally we just climb up the tree and chop it off with a saw. And so I got my extension ladder off the truck and put it up against the tree, and I've chopped the branch off, and the whole branch is going, come right out, and took the ladder. I was up the extension ladder, took the bottom of the ladder, and then just gone bang, flat on me back onto the ground. This is before my electrocution. And I was working with my other mate that I was doing work for, that we powered these houses up for, and his father was working with him. And he comes right, Troy, you all right, Troy? Anyways, so I get up in shock, and jeez. And then I hook up the housing, and then what I normally did is take the wire, and I'll walk up the ladder, and then I get the wire, and then I just hook it up onto the pole first. Like, I have all my PPE, and I have all the right gear on so I don't get electrocuted. And so I've got up to the top of the ladder, and I didn't see there was another wire coming from the other pole, and it had the ends bent around like this. And there was 4 wires there. And because one, I was in, I wasn't happy about having no apprentice to help me. And then 2, I just fell off, 10 foot off a ladder on my back. And then I just wasn't concentrating. And so then I've gone to go past this wire, which I didn't see, to hook it on. And then all of a sudden it went in my neck. What this, I don't know. And then I started to get electrocuted. And then smoke's pouring off my neck, and I was like, when you get Well, I talk about it another topic, Craig, what I was doing, but this is my third brush. But when you start to die, everything's slow. It's like slow motion. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why am I getting electrocuted? My whole body. I think, why am I getting electrocuted? What's going on? I'm not touching anything. Like I wasn't near anything. I couldn't work it out. And then I had a harness on around the pole. And then I sort of passed half. I didn't really pass right out, but I sort of passed out enough to get off the wire. And then I sort of come to a bit and then looked at it and, oh, right. And then I finished all the job off. And then, so I rang Carrie, my wife. I said, oh yeah, just had another electrocution, you know. She goes, oh, you better go to the hospital. And everyone's freaking out telling me to go to the hospital. And I went, righto. So I did finish my day's work and then I went to the hospital, but, you know, got a good ticker. So, but what happened after that? So it was probably a couple of days later. I was, and we're renting at the time, and life wasn't that great. And I'm sitting on the side of the bed, and then all of a sudden it was just like, I don't know what depression feels like or something like that, but it was just like all this darkness, and then I started blubbering like a, you know, on the side of it. And then I went, nah, something's got to change. This is not right. Something has to change. Anyway, so why I'm telling you that story is because that was the thing that changed my life forever. And so I started to look into why you hear all the time and say, oh, if someone touches, everything they touch turns to gold. You know, it's a common saying, isn't it?
Totally.
And then I think, well, why have they got everything? And I was working hard. Like I used to work solid. Like I didn't muck around. And it just, nothing ever worked. Like everything was, just seemed so hard and it was
like just getting by sort of thing.
Yeah, it was just terrible.
Yeah.
And then, so I started looking at this thing called law of attraction. And then one thing led to another, and I worked out how the universe worked. I went, oh shit. And then I found out that you can't manifest more than you are. And so what happened was what happens is all your beliefs from when you're young, all your programming between 0 and 7 mainly gets installed, and then everything on top of that gets built up. And my first 10 years were like survival mode because, you know, I had not a great upbringing. But after like 10, when my dad got divorced and that, then things were good after that time. But so the thing is, you can't manifest more than you are. That was the number one thing that I found out. And that's why I got to where I was. So what happened was I started to upgrade all my belief. I learned a system where you can upgrade all your belief system. And then I found out that later on that life's just a program. And the world that we live in is programmable, which means we're programmable. And that means that everything around us is programmable. And so once you understand that, that's how it works. And then it's just a matter of applying it really.
Yeah, well, like you say, once you understand it.
Yeah.
Because like you always say, everybody's walking around manifesting without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Like I was. I remember when I was a kid and all I ever wanted was this new surfboard. I used to walk past this surf shop every day and I was hounding my dad for this new board. And Dad was a bit of a struggler. And plus he wasn't from the surfing world and he couldn't understand it. And
but that was like in the 50s.
Yeah. And yeah, well, that was it. And he thought surfers were bums and he didn't want me going down that road. But that was all I ever wanted to do. And I remember when he walked away, the last time he said no to me, when I didn't get it for a birthday, and I thought, oh, wow, I'm never going to get this board.
Yeah.
And then I went behind his back and I went, stuff you, when I'm older, I'm going to have a freaking garage full of boards.
Yeah.
And that's exactly one of the things that happened to me. Now I've got so many surfboards, my missus just wants me to get rid of them. But I did that without even knowing.
Yeah.
So like you said, you're doing it like negative. Unknowingly. But then...
And it's not really... I know you're about to say negatively, but it's just unknowingly is the word, isn't it? Because...
Unknowingly is the huge difference between... That's one sort of life and an exceptional sort of life. Because like you said about the dudes that everything they touch turns to gold.
Because that's their belief.
That's their belief. They just know, like dudes like, I don't know, Richard Branson and all that, if they want to do something, they just go do it.
They just do it.
Whereas people like us, like in the beginning, if we wanted to do something, then we were brought up in the way that you had to pay the cash for it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have the cash, then it was unattainable.
Yeah.
Or you had to work hard and budget to get there.
Yeah.
Whereas a dude like Richard Branson, he just, probably used somebody else's money to get whatever
but
he
still,
wanted.
he had to do all the work.
That's the thing, isn't it?
You still have to do all the work.
You still got to action.
Yeah.
It just doesn't magically appear in
You
your
can't
lap.
sit on the lounge and expect
Well,
it.
some people, maybe it does, but like,
not generally.
that's probably chance that or they get inheritance or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're the lucky few. But yeah, once you realise what you're capable of, and you clear. That's the whole idea of meditation and things, isn't it? You know, is to clear your mind so you can focus forward and then on whatever you want to achieve or do or have or whatever. And so they're the ones that. Because you look at all those dudes, that's the common denominator with them, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they can just focus, not hesitate, just go, I'm going, and
so they got the right programming.
they got the right programming. Yeah, that's it.
But do you remember when I first, I used to get so excited, and used to tell people, and then they thought that I had two heads.
Oh yeah.
And well, they still do sometimes. They just, it is so far out of our way of thinking, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It's just so far out of our realm.
Yeah, it's like you have to relearn everything you've been taught, especially from school.
Yeah,
like,
the indoctrination program.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's
how to become a taxpayer.
Taxpayer.
Quite easily. Just go to school.
Yeah, these dudes that are like touching gold and turning to gold, they're not worried about paying tax. They pay no tax.
Yeah.
But somebody's got to pay the tax, so they're not going to share the secret.
The slave system.
The slave system, exactly.
But how good is it?
Yeah, I remember when that surf trip we did with Mitchie for his 21st.
In Hawaii.
We're in Hawaii, and you told me about how you could manifest car spaces just as a beginning introduction to it all. And I went, what are you talking about? And he said, well, if you're going to a busy shopping centre, you just book your spot before you go and you rock up and there it is at the front door or whatever level you want it to be on. And I went home from that trip and I started mucking around with that and was like 100%.
Yeah.
And then I told my daughters and their friends and everybody's booking spots.
And then I was in the car with Mum and but we just drove. It was like real busy. It was like a Christmas or something. And of course, we just drive in and get the spot right up the front. And Mum goes, oh, so do you use the car ferries as well?
Oh, the car ferries.
Because Dad, he's always whinging and complaining. Oh, yeah, your mother's always trying to get the closest spot to the door, because every time Mum goes, she just drives up and boom, straight into the
old school, they know about all these things.
Yeah, but unknowingly. And because the reality is only in our mind. And so the creation's only in our mind. Like everyone's got their own creation in their mind. And so when you create the reality in your mind, it comes into the physical, but it's still in your mind. And I think that's why because you've got it in your mind that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I suppose that's the easiest way to explain it, isn't it? So that's why people that are always negative in the way they think, oh, this is going to happen to me, bad stuff always happens to me, and then they just manifest it, it just gets stronger and stronger, and the bad just keeps coming and coming, and the more it comes,
because the universe doesn't care.
No, it doesn't care if it's good or bad or whatever you ask for, it virtually provides. So if you're thinking in the mode of lack, then it's just going to keep on throwing it your way.
Because that was I was trying to think of that. What's his name? The guy. Anyways, he said he's in the 1950s or something. Or it'll come to me. And he, Earl Nightingale, and he said about the ground doesn't care that you can plant a thistle or a flower.
Oh yeah, or weeds or
it doesn't. The ground, it'll just produce the same result. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like the universe doesn't care. Yeah. And it's just so powerful, eh? Like it's just when you learn it, but it's not. There's still art to it, isn't it? It's not like
absolutely.
It's not like and then you picture $1 million in your bank account, and then you get up in the morning, there's $1 million. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And I think because everything has to have a time element, like the whole program has to have a time element, because imagine like every time you thought of something, I just went, boom, popped up. Then you stop thinking about it, boom, gone. Boom, 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 boom. Like you couldn't do it. It'd be like like your dream.
Yeah.
How there's no time element. So in the dream, you can be doing one thing, and then a second later, it's totally different. So it's not like they're like everything's like in halves, like in dreams. Like dreams are never
jumping around.
It jumps around from one thing to another.
Yeah.
And so imagine life. So life can't be like that. Like it has to be. We have to have a time element to the manifestation.
Right. And then you get one thing done and then move on to the next.
Yeah, so it's like growing like a tree.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you think of like the apple tree, right?
In stages.
Yeah, so you think like the apple tree, like that whole program of the whole apple tree, the apples, the height of the tree, what it's going to look like, every single thing of that tree is programmed in that seed.
Mm.
Well, you think about that. But that whole seed has that whole tree inside it.
Mm.
And then the other part of that program of the seed has the environment part, where it needs certain elements of nature to make it grow. So you've got to plant it, and you can't just plant it into the desert. It needs a certain elements.
Yeah.
And so it needs like the right environment, so the right soil and the right climate and a bit of nurturing and then all that stuff. And then it's still a battle for the elements to grow because cow will come along and eat it off as it's growing up. Or
it doesn't get any water, or like you say, it lacks particular nutrient. Well, that's the same with us, isn't it? When we, like you were saying before, when the 0 to 7, and depending on your environment and your parents and your aunties and your uncles and your brothers and your sisters, it all contributing to the type of person that the program that you're getting downloaded with. Yeah. And then you go to school and then...
So that's why you start at 5C, because you've still got 2 years. The last 2 years are the most important.
Right.
And so that's where the main program goes in.
Yeah.
Sit down, be quiet, don't look at the thing. Sit down, be quiet, look forward. Look up, that's about the main program. That's why we're there from 5. It's because the main program starts from there, leading up. And then if you're ready to be a full slave by the time you leave year 12, into the tax-paying system. Yeah. Because the whole world is just run by the slave.
Yeah.
The slave herders.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Yeah.
But and so getting back to the programming, like I know it's tough to bullet, but if you think like when you're born, like what program do you have? Nothing. Naught. What can you do? All you can do is you don't even know, you wouldn't even be able to feed yourself.
No.
Like mum has to get you and put you on the boob, and then and all that sort of. But then I suppose it's instinct your body knows how to drink milk. But then you think you've got how do you feed? You got to get the program to feed yourself.
Yeah.
You got to get a program, but they're forever. So it's forever. Like that program's forever. Feeding yourself's forever. Walking, you've got to learn that. You've got to learn to crawl. That's forever.
Yeah.
You learn to walk. That's forever.
Yeah.
So all of those programs are forever programs. That's why 0 to 7 is, it's a scientific thing too, because there's something, there's some liquid that comes down out of your brain anyway that stops when it's around 7. So there is like a science thing behind it, but you think about all the programs, like you learn to talk, like whatever language that you get taught, it doesn't depending on what country you're in.
Depending on your environment.
Yeah. And then so that's forever. Yeah. Like you can't not speak English like for us.
Yeah, and well, even down to the accent that you have.
And the accent, that's forever. So all them programs are there forever. That's why it's forever programs. That's why it's so crucial for new mums to understand that like the child's first 7 years
they're vital.
Are incredibly important if you want your child to have like a great future, like a Richard Branson type future. You can program all those things in to make but then obviously, you've got other environmental things going on forward.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what sort of environment a guy like Richard Branson or that grew up in.
Yeah.
I'm not
sure either.
Yeah. But it'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it? Or like that, it doesn't. You can still change your program at any time.
But this is the thing that I learned in the last 8 years, is that we can change our program. Well, you know that too.
Yeah.
You know, you actually change who you are.
Well, you have to.
Well, you have to. And so it's like if you're listening to a radio station, say 101.3 or something, if you only got to change it to 101.5, totally different station.
Yeah.
Different station.
Yeah.
So it's, even though it's only like a little 0.2 of a move, like it's nearly nothing, but you can't hear that frequency anymore.
Yeah.
So every time that you upgrade your frequency, then you get to listen to another station, which means a new manifestation. So that each time that you upgrade, something better or something different comes along. It doesn't necessarily, it can be worse, can go down or up. So each time that you change the frequency, then something changes. But then the environment is, like that's a massive thing as well. Because I was watching the latest thing with, what's his name?
He's drawing a blank, mate.
Yeah, he's gone straight at Arnold Schwarzenegger. He went straight out of my mind. It's a really good series. And he talks about manifesting, but he doesn't say manifesting, but that's what he's done. And he says that he had this, one of the things that he can do is strongly visualise his future, like strongly visualise where he wants to be.
Yeah,
and
he's that focused.
Yeah, it's a really good program. Till the end where he's been compromised, obviously, by the FEB, which we can talk about later, because now he's on the climate thing and all that, but anyway.
Well, he went into politics, didn't he?
Yeah, he's in politics. When you go down that rabbit hole.
Well, he was the governor of one of the strongest states in America, and if not the world.
Yeah.
So you have to have some sort of compliance to get to that level, don't you?
You'd have to have something. And if he didn't know it, he knows it now. But anyway, and his brother, so he left Austria and become Mr. Universe and all those type of things, but his brother stayed. So they both had the exact same upbringing, but his upbringing made him stronger, but the same upbringing made his brother weaker. And so his brother ended up, I think he had a car accident or something, or I'm not sure exactly what happened to him, but he said he had depression, all these things. And so, like, each child is going to be affected differently by their upbringing as well.
Even though they're in the same
Even though they're the same environment.
Well, that goes to show it's not, like, an environment is a factor, but it's not the only factor.
It's not the only factor. And so I'm thinking that the ideal thing, like if, in the ideal situation would be that you'd have to find out what that child is sort of likes and what he's sort of good at, or she sort of good, and then you would really promote that, enforce it, because that must be what
that's the direction they want to head. Yeah,
that's the direction they want to go in, and then the other kids would be, different, whatever they want to go in.
Yeah, because everybody's got different ways, different dreams and aspirations, and different ways of even looking at things.
But it's just the way that he talks about it, and if you just put manifesting in front of all his words, like he has manifested his life to a T. Like he says that how he's gone after it, but then he's relentless on it. And if you listen to Andy Frisella, I highly recommend that too, the Real AF podcast, if you want to listen to him. He's excellent.
And the 75 Hard program.
The 75 Hard, we can talk about that. And but he's the only guy, and he's worth a few $100 million, he says. I don't know for sure, but he's very successful. But he is the only one I've ever heard to say that he actually uses the manifesting.
Yeah, right.
Like he said about how he manifested his whole life he's got now, and how he went about doing it through visualization and all those things. But the thing that people don't know is that he has said that he has a photographic memory. And so I think that would help him as well to manifest, like to get the visualization right, and then you don't forget anything, so then it gets on that path.
Yeah,
but he's relentless as well. Like he just reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That guy's relentless on his journey. He's like, there's no other path.
Yeah.
Whereas like like you and I, you know, we got children and kids and things, and it just didn't. But we didn't know about the manifesting thing. But I would say we weren't relentless on that journey.
Yeah, there was always something else that you had to consider when you wanted to move in a certain direction. But then you had, like you say, you got responsibilities and pressures coming from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you can't 100% focus on your objective, even, and that's why they call it becomes a dream in the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, rather than a focus point or a manifestation.
Yeah.
But yeah, then that's another part of the journey, isn't realizing that if you can keep on your journey, then you'll be happy and have no hang-ups, and everybody else will flow with you.
Yeah.
But they've got to be on the same similar trajectory. Yeah. Otherwise, they're going to be pulling you. You're going to be working in different directions, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's why like we always talk about the so-called power couples in the world. Yeah. Wow, you put them together and they're going in the same direction. They're unstoppable. Yeah. That's why they call them power couples.
That's like that Alex Morosi that I listened to. He's with his wife. Like she's a powerhouse, and so you get two people like that together, mate. They're unstoppable. Them two, and I'd imagine it's the same as any other man and woman that get together like that. That their only focus is to whatever it is that they're focusing on. They become that so strong together.
Well, it's like when you and I spend time together, like you come away from that, you get to...
solving the problems of the world.
Well, that's what we're doing. And that's how it becomes so strong, and you walk away feeling so pumped and so I'm ready to go, because we've just pumped each other up and got each other motivated, and we're absolutely similar mindsets.
Yeah.
And like that's why all the surf trips and that we've done around the world together have just been golden, because we've just gone away on the same, not proviso, but with the same attitude. We're going to have the best time. We're going to get the best waves.
Yeah.
Everything's just going to be cool.
Yeah.
And went in with nothing else but that in our minds, and it panned out perfect every time, 100%.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and it's like we say, you know, when people are into religion and that, and they go to a church, you're surrounded by a bunch of like-minded people.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes the people that turn to the church could be at the depths of despair or whatever, and so they get motivated and they feel awesome.
Yeah, having all the people around, like going to a concert.
Yeah,
but they're doing that every week.
They're doing that every week, and they're hanging to get to church on Sunday or whatever. It's just like we're hanging to get together on a Saturday to go for a surf and go for a walk and, like you say, solve the problems of the world.
Yeah.
So, like-mindedness will always attract like-mindedness. Yeah. That's the power of the universe, isn't it? It was like, you know, similar to what you were just describing when you got hooked up that day and nearly died. Like maybe the universe was giving you signals from the very beginning when the apprentice rang in crook.
Yeah,
maybe you should have cancelled.
Gave me a few hints.
You should have, because that's what it's all about too. It's being aware of your situations and looking for doors. So first thing in the morning, it probably knew what was going to go down, and it through the apprentice, maybe that might get him to cancel the job. Takes a trip. Troy goes on. Tree takes out the ladder. Another one. Not most dudes would pack up and cancel the job and go to hospital or whatever, get checked out. Would have cancelled the job. Who knows?
Yes, and that could be true. We don't know, do we?
You don't know. You don't know what doors are opening and closing along the way. But that's another part of the secret. Instead of just being like, I've got to get on the train, go to work, punch out my 8-hour day or whatever days, go home, talk to the wife for a little bit, have dinner, have a shower, go to bed, do it all again. You're not looking for those doors, all those other opportunities that they're could be blindly slapping you in the face, but because you're just following the crowd.
Just go back to Donna.
Yeah, so Donna, who was my girlfriend at the time, she had, or I always knew she wanted to go overseas with her girlfriends and backpack around Europe. And then the day came, it was getting closer to the day, and I went, okay, what am I going to do? And I'd already done a couple of trips, sailing trips in the South Pacific, and I had a few contacts in Canada and the States, and And I thought, oh, well, if you're going to Europe, I'm going to go to the other side of the world and start moving around, backpacking around the States and Canada, and picked up a few of these addresses. And then they said, oh, you're heading down here. I've got a mate that lives down there, or an auntie that lives over there. Right, just made more way. Just bought a push bike and just rode from town to town. Every town I went into, I had another contact.
You're just brushing over things. You just go from town to town. What about the whole trip across Canada?
Yeah, well, it was on a pushy. But there was a few times there where I'd ride for a week or so and not talk to anybody because I was up in the Arctic Circle.
Like, imagine that. I don't even know if you could do that anymore without getting shot or something. Oh, no, they don't have guns in Canada, do they? No.
Oh, but yeah, maybe.
It would be dangerous now.
It was just this perfect trip. I was just in the moment for all that time.
Yeah.
And just, I had no responsibilities at the time. I was carefree. And I just thought, I'm just going to have the best trip of my life and everything's going sweet. Like, sure, I got crook and stuff like that and had to lay low, go stay in a hostel for a couple of nights and recover. Yeah. End up riding across Canada, down all around America, down into Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about the pyramids?
Well, that was later on when Donna and I got into contact with each other. And this is days before, like this is in 1990, no mobile phones. Like the big thing was to keep in touch with my parents.
Imagine never know. That's not that long ago. It's like 30 years ago and there's no mobile phones.
Yeah, all right. The biggest thing I had was Dad had a fax machine in his office. So so then I left, came back up from Mexico and the States and ended up back on the other side, the east coast of Canada, and I had a round the world trip booked originally. So I thought, I've got a flight, flew into Amsterdam, got in touch with Donna. She was working in London, and she said I was running low on funds, so I thought, they love Aussie Sparkies over there, and landed in London, made a small fortune in a small amount of time. And then we said, how about we go down to the Middle East and check out Israel? We went to Israel first and then travelled all through Israel and then got a boat, a ferry.
Was that where they thought you were a drug runner?
Yeah, yeah.
in Israel?
Yeah. Oh, that was going across the Israeli-Egyptian border. Yeah. I had souvenirs in my backpack and I was probably being a bit of a smart ass going across the border. And they thought drugs were hidden in one of these statues. So the passport went that way and I went that way, and then the so-called drug statue was left on the bench in the middle. So I had to break free of these coppers and smashed it on the bench to prove that there was nothing in it. Yeah. So, but that was really out of everything the only dodginess I had. And we stayed in some pretty hairy places. But and in the meantime, one of my best mates had come over to check out the scene too, and he came to Egypt. Yeah. And we did the pyramids.
What was it like going through the pyramids?
Oh, it was pretty amazing. Yeah. And Donna had like a claustrophobic attack when we're down in the middle of it all. So that was an interesting experience.
Because you could just go in and climb it and do whatever in those days.
In those days it was open slabber, As long as you could drop a few Egyptian pounds into the tour guide's pocket, then everything was sweet. You could do what you wanted to do. But we did horseback tours all through the desert and around these, archaeological sites.
And you went through the Middle East as well. Did you go through?
Yeah, we went down into the Sudan and Jordan and Syria, and it was because again, just one opportunity just seemed to pop up after the other, and it was just like a flow-on effect.
Imagine being able to go back to those days of just being free to travel.
Oh yeah.
There's no way you could do that now. No way.
No, not to do it how we did it. Like to get into everywhere. Like we didn't even consider non-access.
Yeah. It wasn't a thing though, was it?
It wasn't a thing. Well, that's it. You want to do this, you want to go there, you just, like I say, most of the time you just had to pay some dude to take you there
We've lost so many freedoms, haven't we, over the years?
Wow. I would love to go back to Egypt because we did it pretty low funded.
Is that the wording?
Yeah. But to go back and experience it from a nice hotel or river cruise point of view would be interesting, because most of those big attractions you can't get into now. They're
everything's all cordoned off.
Or isolated, and cordoned off, and not to go. I don't think you can go into the pyramid, the pyramids.
I don't think so. I'm not 100% certain. But I'd imagine everything's corrupt there. So I'd imagine you'd be able to pay someone if you had enough money.
Yeah, if you had enough.
But I don't know if you can go climbing the outside of it.
Yeah, but that takes the appeal out of it, doesn't it? When you've got to, you just pay your way. But anyway.
The corruption.
But yeah, it was a good trip. So it was, but then,
As you'll get to know me and Craig, we get off topic very easily. and things start to drift from one thing to another. And so, anyway, that's what we're going to be doing through this podcast. And so our main aim is to just to enlighten people to what's really going on in the world. Sorry, I should really go back. The first thing we want to do is for people to realise this unbelievable power of manifesting that we all have, and to heal ourselves. And we haven't even talked about anything like that. To heal ourselves of anything that hasn't like an emotional attachment. All that stuff can be healed nearly overnight, or like manifesting and like just realizing that the world is programmable and all these things. Like that's our main thing that we want to get across to people. But the other thing is what is coming is like COVID was just stage 1, and the next thing that's coming is way worse in my eyes. And I don't believe that we have long. I think we only have maybe a year or so. I think it's going to depend on the outcome of America with the election there. But so with the podcast, we're going to be talking about all that. I do a ton of research, a ton. I don't say anything unless I know for sure that's what's actually happened. I research everything. I follow the money trails. I try anything manifesting. I try everything out for myself first, and then I get the guinea pig Craig to try. He comes on a Saturday. We go Saturday. I go, Craig, I just learnt this new thing. Do you want to try it out? He goes, oh yeah, righto. And so then we try it out, and he goes, oh wow, yeah, that's. And then he'll do it for the week, and then he'll go, oh yeah, that's definitely works, that thing. And so then I help out other people with it, but I try everything with myself first, and then, obviously with Craig because he's my good mate. And then, so that's what we're going to be doing. If you want to follow us on this podcast journey of ours, this is only our first episode, so hopefully we haven't bored you too much. And our first YouTube video, so if be our first subscriber.
We'd love
be the first like and subscribe.
Go on.
You'll probably be me and you, Craig.
Oh well.
So we'll be view 1 and view 2.
Our kids will tick it.
Yeah, hopefully. But anyway, so if you want to come on this journey with us of manifesting and learning what's going on in the world, but just to start opening up your own doors to what's possible in the world. So thanks, Craig, for coming in today, and
pleasure.
Thanks, especially for being my co-host and helping me out with this podcast journey. And so I've put my whole life into this journey on the Freedom Network. So because I believe that we really need it, like humanity really needs it. I think it's time that we break free of the slave control and we just stop playing their game and we start up our new game, the new game of, want to live life and realise that we have everything we need. The environment, we've got everything. It's just they keep taking it from us. And so we just want to go and get on this new journey, like a whole new game, like a whole new way of thinking. Like as soon as you get on this road of thinking, you can't go back. It's like riding a push bike, isn't it?
You can't unlearn this.
You can't unthink it.
No. But we're all entitled to a good life.
Yeah, well, you would think.
So
you would think that.
And who's anybody to take that right away from us? Like like we've learnt, we're powerful beings capable of whatever we want, and they're doing whatever they want. But why should it be at the detriment of us?
Yeah.
So we're not really doing anything bad. Like we're just
in their eyes, we are.
Because they're going, oh wow, they've learnt the secret. Like they weren't supposed to learn that secret.
They don't want us learning the secret.
Yeah.
So anyway, on that note, thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next one.